I've said this before and I will say it again. If you are a Star Trek The Next Generation fan and you are not watching Picard Season 3, you are doing yourself a huge disservice, because this show, this one singular season of Picard, is nothing less than a love letter to any fan of Star Trek The Next Generation. That having been said, if you have not yet seen it, or you have not yet seen Star Trek Picard Season 3, Episode 9, you're going to want to turn this off unless you want it spoiled for you, because there will be spoilers in this review. Now, Star Trek Picard Season 3, Episode 9 is nothing less than brilliant. Episode 7 and 8 were okay. They had a lot of exposition. They had a lot of filler. I know the reason why they probably did it. They needed to move the story forward without actually moving the story forward. They needed to fill in some gaps. They did give us Deanna Troi in those episodes. They did give us Data in those episodes. We got to see Data finally come back, thank God, because it just wasn't the same without him. And I've always hated how they killed Data at the end of Nemesis, and they never ever gave us anything about him coming back, or anything, they left us hanging with him downloading all of his information into B4, and then they never did anything with it. So that was just a tease, and I hated that. So we finally get Data back, but now Episode 9 finally tells us who the bad guy is. We thought it was the changelings. We knew that the changelings were being manipulated by somebody else. Now we finally have learned who the changelings were being manipulated by. We finally know what is up with Jack Crusher. We finally know why they stole Picard's human body from the Daystrom station. And we know the plan. We know the bad guy's plan. And the next episode, I'm sure, which is the final episode, is going to be the big battle, the big resolution. I mean, I don't want it to end. I honestly do not want this series, this season, to end. It has been so good. We've had so much good stuff. We got our crew back together. We get Worf. I want more Worf. Worf has always been one of my favorite characters. I want more Worf. I want more Data. I could do, honestly, I hate to say this, but I could do without Picard so much, and I could do without Riker, even though Riker he's the star of the show. Hands down, he is the star of the show. Now, that being said, we lost one of my favorite characters, and I was hoping that they were going to do more with him in the future, maybe give him his own show. But yes, Captain Shaw was killed. It looks like he was killed. We don't have 100% confirmation that he's dead, but he did get shot in the chest, fell back, and told Seven of Nine that it's her ship now, and actually called him Seven of Nine, which was a great moment in their relationship, in their character arc. So Seven of Nine stayed back on the Titan. We find out that the big bad is, of course, the Borg. Kind of hinted at that, kind of knew that it was going to be the Borg all along. When Picard was, we're going to do a little bit of explaining here. When Picard was Locutus, they planted something in his brain that altered his DNA. They made it look like Irumodic syndrome. It was not Irumodic syndrome. It was something in his brain that stayed there dormant for a long time that he was able to pass on to Jack. And when they stole his body from Daystrom Institute, they removed that part of his brain and actually programmed it. This is incredible how they've come up with this story. Terry Metalis, you are the man. You are definitely the man for coming up with this story. They were able to program all of Starfleet's transporters to alter the DNA of anybody that used it, to plant the Irumodic syndrome that wasn't actually Irumodic syndrome into anybody that used a transporter. But anybody that's over the age of 25, it doesn't affect them, because your frontal lobe stops developing when you hit 25. So anybody under the age of 25 now has their DNA rewritten by the Borg, which is what explains why Jack Crusher was able to control Sydney LaForge. She was able to control the lieutenant on the bridge because they're all younger than the age of 25. They use the transporter. They have this altered DNA in their bodies. So Jack was able to use what he inherited from Picard to be able to control them and manipulate them. But anybody over the age of 25 does not get affected by this. So now that Frontier Day has happened and all of Starfleet, it looks like all of Starfleet, and we actually have ships. We have many, many different types of ships. I saw Akira class. I saw Sovereign class. I saw a couple of older ships. We got the Enterprise F. We got to see NCC 1701F. Beautiful, beautiful ship, straight out of Star Trek Online, and everything that they've been talking about and all the pictures they've been talking about is now finally canon. We get to see the beautiful NCC 1701F. There was some Sovereign classes in there. We don't know what happened to NCC 1701E, because at a throwaway line, you find out that Worf actually had something to do with either its destruction or its decommissioning. But anyway, so now the Frontier Day is happening and all the ships have been gathered here at Earth. Now the Borg have tapped into this DNA change and all these different Starfleet officers who are under the age of 25, which, if anybody that served in the military knows, that most of your grunts, most of your people that actually do the work are under the age of 25, and the senior officers would be the ones older. Well, there's more of the younger ones than there are the older ones, so they're taking over the ships. They killed Admiral Shelby. They killed Shaw. And as soon as the Titan warped into the Sol system, it was taken over by the fleet formation, which is some kind of new thing where all the ships coordinate with each other and they all fight together in one big formation. So now the Titan has been taken over. Sydney LaForge was taken over. The other LaForge daughter was taken over. And our crew managed to escape the Titan right up to the point where Captain Shaw got killed, but 7 of 9 stayed behind. And Geordi took them to the Fleet Museum. You see these doors open up on the Fleet Museum. It was Bay 23, or I can't remember the exact number, but it was something that the other LaForge daughter had mentioned to her dad. Say, what about this bay? And her dad just kind of blew her off. But the doors open up. They fly the shuttle in. And for 1 minute, I was hoping for the E. I will say I was hoping for the big E. But when those lights came on and you saw NCC 1701D, oh my God, I got chills. Chills ran through me. The D is back. Geordi explains to them that the saucer section was recovered from Viridian 3. The engineering section and the nacelles came obviously from another Galaxy class starship, but the saucer section is all Enterprise. They go on board. They go on the bridge. The bridge looks exactly like it looked in the Next Generation show. Not the movies, not Star Trek Generations, because it had more consoles, it had more displays. All those are gone. It's the original bridge from the TV show, and the original crew is standing on the bridge. And Data walks up and he puts his hand on the operations chair and he says, "Hello, chair." And it's just, you just get chills. You get chills. It's just perfect. It's a perfect ending. And it's a perfect send-off to the Next Generation crew, because it's the Next Generation crew. It's all of them. Picard, Worf, Crusher, Troy, Riker, Data, LaForge, and they're all standing once again on the bridge of the great USS Enterprise NCC 1701D. Okay? The D still has its old, and even the computer voice. They used Majel Barrett. I'm sure that it was some kind of AI that they used to mimic her voice because she's been dead for quite a while now. But when Picard speaks to the computer, it's her voice. It's the actual old school computer voice, Majel Barrett's voice. And it's as Jean-Luc Picard now, Captain Jean-Luc Picard now in command of USS Enterprise. The Enterprise does not have that weird programming where it interfaces with the rest of the fleet. It is completely independent, completely on its own. And the last thing we see is the crew, our crew, taking off in the Enterprise, the old school Enterprise, going to warp into the Sol system to fight impossible odds because there had to be 200 ships, okay? And the Borg. Oh, and of course, Jack Crusher, I completely forgot about him. He leaves the Titan in a shuttle. Picard tries to stop him, but he doesn't. He finally realizes that it's the Borg that have been manipulating him the whole time. And he has the coordinates in his head. He flies to the coordinates. He sees a Borg cube hiding in a nebula, goes aboard the Borg cube. And the last thing we see of him is the Borg Queen hanging from her articulation frame or whatever. And tubes coming down and going into Jack Crusher, and his eyes turned black and everything. So I guess they're simulating Jack Crusher. You didn't get to see the Queen's face. It sounded like Alice Krieg, the Borg Queen, the woman that played the Borg Queen in First Contact. It sounded like her. That doesn't mean anything. It could be played by a different actress. I don't know. I hope it's played by Alice Krieg. That would make it even better. But yes, that's where we are at this point. Jack Crusher is being assimilated by the Borg. Anybody under the age of 25 that's in the Starfleet formation, that's part of Frontier Day, has now been assimilated by the Borg. They don't have all the mechanical things, but the Borg is completely in control of their bodies, and they have targeted the space dock. So they're targeting the space dock. They want to destroy the space dock, and Picard and the crew are on their way in the D to stop them. I'm just telling you, this entire episode, all this waiting and having to watch this week to week, which I hate. I'd rather just binge a show and see all the episodes at once. All the waiting that we've had to do has been worth it. I don't know what's going to happen in the final episode. I have heard that the final episode is amazing from people that have actually seen it. And they've been right so far because they said that this episode was amazing, and they said that all would be revealed in this episode. We thought that it was the changelings, but it's not. It's not. There might be more changelings. We don't know. There could be more out there somewhere. The Shrike has been destroyed, but there is a Borg cube that's waiting in a nebula somewhere, waiting to be, waiting to show up at Sector 001. I just can't say anything more good. There's just no words to describe how good this show is. This Picard season 3, this final season, one more episode. I want more. I want so much more. I want to see more of Worf. I want to see, now we get Data back. I want to see more of Data. I want to see more exploits of the crew and the Enterprise and everything else. I know that it's not going to happen. This was a one-shot, a one-off deal. Terry Matalas wrote this show, wrote this season. Alex Kurtzman had nothing to do with it. He put his name on it as executive producer, but he did not write it. He had nothing to do with the writing. He had nothing to do with the directing. Thank God, because his Star Trek has just been a complete abomination. Discovery, blech, no way, no freaking way. I'm sorry. Strange New Worlds, I just can't. I can't watch it mostly because of the trailer that we get at the beginning of every episode of Star Trek Picard, where that woman turns around and asks Spock if he ever speaks in plain English. That's just not something that anyone would ask. Maybe McCoy would do it. It's okay coming from McCoy, but not from some bridge officer. It's cringe to me, and I just don't want to see it. But Picard season 3, if they could do more of these shows, more of these episodes, even if we didn't have the crew, okay, 7 and 9 is there. So, Jerry Ryan is more than capable of doing more episodes. Worf, he might be in his 70s, but he's more than capable of doing more episodes. Data, Brent Spiner could do more. Picard, Patrick Stewart's a little old. He's older than the rest of the crew, so he should be probably done. But the rest of them aren't too bad. The rest of them are in their 70s. They got another good few years that they could squeeze out of them. So maybe they could do some more. I don't know. Man, I just wish we would get more. So I'm giving this a big thumbs up. A 10 out of 10. This episode was amazing. Seeing the Enterprise again, amazing. Seeing our crew on the bridge of the Enterprise and Picard sitting in the chair, telling them to set a course for Earth and then saying engage was tip top. That was it. That was the moment that we've all been waiting for. If you have not seen Picard season 3 and you've watched this episode you've watched this and I've spoiled everything for you, but still watch it. Even if it's been spoiled, watch it. You will still love it. Thank you for watching. Hope you like what you saw. If you did, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, ring the bell for notifications. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.